Do you really know what drives your production performance, reservoir characteristics, lateral length, completions design? What if you could clearly identify the drivers of your production performance? Is it challenging to take production forecasting and translate it into asset economics? Do you know the true value of your asset? Are you able to consider all outcomes in an ever-changing economic environment? What if you could effortlessly link production forecasting to your asset economics and evaluate multiple scenarios using variable inputs? Introducing Ada AI Production Series, performance optimization for professionals, for assets, and for investors. Ada AI Production Series. Predict, produce, perform. Do you really know what drives your production performance, reservoir characteristics, lateral length, completions design? What if you could clearly identify the drivers of your production performance? Is it challenging to take production forecasting and translate it into asset economics? Do you know the true value of your asset? Are you able to consider all outcomes in an ever-changing economic environment? What if you could effortlessly link production forecasting to your asset economics and evaluate multiple scenarios using variable inputs? Introducing Ada AI Production Series, performance optimization for professionals, for assets, and for investors. Ada AI Production Series. Predict, produce, perform. Do you really know what drives your production performance, reservoir characteristics, lateral length, completions design? What if you could clearly identify the drivers of your production performance? Is it challenging to take production forecasting and translate it into asset economics? Do you know the true value of your asset? Are you able to consider all outcomes in an ever-changing economic environment? What if you could effortlessly link production forecasting to your asset economics and evaluate multiple scenarios using variable inputs? Introducing Ada AI Production Series, performance optimization for professionals, for assets, and for investors. Ada AI Production Series. Predict, produce, perform. Do you really know what drives your production performance, reservoir characteristics, lateral length, completions design? What if you could clearly identify the drivers of your production performance? Is it challenging to take production forecasting and translate it into asset economics? Do you know the true value of your asset? Are you able to consider all outcomes in an ever-changing economic environment? What if you could effortlessly link production forecasting to your asset economics and evaluate multiple scenarios using variable inputs? Introducing Ada AI Production Series, performance optimization for professionals, for assets, and for investors. Ada AI Production Series. Predict, produce, perform.
Introducing Ada AI Production Series, an integral part of the Ada AI digital ecosystem. With enhanced production automation, predict asset performance with the highest level of security, speed, and accuracy. Identify multiple scenarios through dynamic input modifications and achieve financial sustainability while maximizing ROI and improving EUR. Using Ada AI production forecasting, you achieve a significant level of accuracy through the AI-driven physics-based module while seamlessly integrating with the Ada AI Petroleum Economics application. Performance optimization for professionals, for assets, and for investors. Ada AI Production Series. Predict, produce, perform.
Hello everyone, my name is Jiang Zhang, and I will be talking about production forecasting. Production forecasting is a cloud-based reservoir simulator to monitor the production of an unconventional well in real time. It is a fit-on-purpose tool for an operator to tighten the uncertainties of the reservoir in the future fracture, near the fracture, and away from the fracture. At Enovate Upstream, we make our software highly efficient, scalable, and customizable. New features will be integrated as modules. Some of these features come from clients' feedbacks. Our next version software will be able to simulate the surface operation with the connection to the subsurface reservoir through wells. And now I'm going to make a demo on how to use the software production forecasting.
This is the front dashboard of our production forecasting. So you can use our software to simulate the oil case or a gas case. And you provide a case name, or in here it's called a scenario name. And then if you have a production history data file, you can import it for history matching purpose. This window will pop up by clicking this upper arrow. Then you can choose the file you want to import. Once you've done that, this is optional. Actually, if you don't have a production history, that's fine. We can only run the simulation. We also can run it. This production data only for a comparison purpose with your model. So for the simulation, now you need to provide your reservoir properties, like initial reservoir pressure, temperature, pay thickness, etc. And then for the reservoir fluid property, and then the reservoir formation rock property, we provide two ways of getting those data. One is by selecting built-in. All this built-in means you're going to use internal correlations to calculate those properties. Another one is by selecting external. Then by click this arrow button, then give you a chance to import your fluid property versus pressure from a file. Same thing with the compaction model. You can select this external and then by import the external file to, in the file, give you the relationship between the porosity and the permeability with pressure for each reservoir region, matrix region, SRV region, and fracture region. For the PVT properties, it is the fluid formation volume factor and the viscosity versus pressure. That's the relationship. So you can define those values by two different ways from here. Next, you need to give the simulation starting date and then how long you wanted the simulation to run. etc. For numerical simulations, you need to give some numerical parameters like tolerance, maximum iteration steps, etc. And of course, you need to define your mesh. After that, I click on this icon. You come to the dashboard, let you to input the reservoir fluid PVT properties. So again, you can type in some of the gravities with initial formation volume factor, compressibility, and viscosity, etc. No matter whether those relationship is coming from your internal calculation by using the different correlations, or it's come from your external file you just imported from the last dashboard. By clicking on this updates, this relationship will display in this local plot. You can see they are showing how the fluid viscosity is changing with time, with pressure. How is the fluid formation volume factor is changing with pressure. Next dashboard is the place you put in the completion design parameters, like well spacing, cluster spacing, number of clusters, what's the estimated stimulation efficiency, etc. After that is the matrix property section. In this section, you put in the initial porosity and the initial permeability and the rock compressibility. Again, if you select the built-in in our front dashboard, then you can use different correlations, constant correlations, exponential correlations, doubling correlations to calculate the porosity versus pressure. You also can select constant correlation, exponential correlation, or chain Ito correlation to calculate the permeability, how permeability is going to change with pressure. Or you have been using external file to define this relationship, then they will directly take that file. By pressing the updates, they're going to display this relationship, how the permeability and the porosity is changing versus pressure for this area, for this region, matrix region. By clicking next, we are going to SRV region. Again, by the same token, you provide the porosity, permeability, and then the relationship for this region. By click update, and then the relationship will show in this local plot. Next dashboard is for the properties of the fracture itself. Again, similarly, you provide the porosity, permeability, compressibility for the fracture region, and also provide the fracture half-length and the width. Again, this relationship will be displaying in this local plot, and then the simulation will run, and then the final results will be displayed in this six-pack plot. You can see here we have a different plots to let you to evaluate your production health. So when you pop up the first plot into large inversion, you can see here we are looking at the production rate and then the cumulative production versus time. The time axis can be changed from days to months to years. And then the curve you're looking at, the bubble, is the historical data. This is the blue bubble is the historical production rate. The purple bubble is the historical cumulative production. And then the blue curve is the simulation results of the rate. Then the purple curve is the simulation cumulative productions. You can also display the deconcurrent analysis curve by toggle this this signal on and off, then the dashed yellow curve give you the decline curve analysis. How that tells you in the 10 years, at the end of 10 years, it is about 174,000 barrels. However, our physics simulation tells you it's 190,000 barrels. So there's a big difference here. And after you run all your cases, it will be all showing here. You don't need to rerun them. You just select different cases, and then the simulation result will immediately showing here. That's all I have for this demonstration. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Santos. If you are here today attending this event, then you probably already know that an accurate production forecast is fundamental to successfully predict your reservoir performance and run the economic analysis based on that prediction. Enovate Upstream's production series can help you meet and even exceed your assets' financial goals and expectations. AI Petroleum Economics is the financial analysis module of the integrated cloud-based solution AI digital ecosystem. Because it is cloud-based, you can directly import your production forecast from our physics-based simulator production forecasting, providing in this way a seamless integration with the AI production series. Petroleum Economics features an interactive dashboard where the users can easily evaluate their asset performance from a financial perspective by contrasting the production forecast with the oil and gas market futures, tax information, OPEX, and CAPEX. Users can also dynamically manipulate multiple KPIs and evaluate their economic impact in the long-term focus. You can also calculate return on investment, internal rate of return, and even the break-even point of your asset. To go through the several functionalities of this powerful environment, let me take you through the dashboard. This is Petroleum Economics. First, let me show you the settings menu. Here you can select the scenario that you're going to use and indicate the different economic inputs to perform the economic analysis. So as I mentioned you before, you can directly import the scenarios from production forecasting and also upload an external file with production data. In this case, we are going to use a scenario from production forecasting called hints. In this case, the effective date is in the year 2015 on July the 1st. You can select the working interest, the royalty interest, and calculate the net revenue interest. For the case of the oil and gas prices, you can select or assume that it's going to be a constant value through the time, or you can have the option to have a fluctuation in this value. So for example, in this case, we will have an average value of $60 per Stockton barrel, but you can fluctuate this value in 5, 10, or any desired number that you prefer. So in this case, we are just going to assume that the value of the oil price will be constant through the time of the analysis. The same option is available for the gas, but we will also assume a constant value. You can also indicate your tax information, and then you can click on the update button. Here is the interactive dashboard of Petroleum Economics. As you can see, we have the dynamic chart settings where you can fluctuate the different values for the CAPEX, OPEX, oil price, gas price, and discount rate, providing a visual perspective of the economic changes generated by the dynamic input modifications. You can change these values as you desire and have different limits to navigate into these sliders. If you want to go back to the original values, you can click on the reset button. In the first plot of Petroleum Economics, you will find a visual understanding of the effective decline rates on the cumulative production along with the financial metrics. So it allows you to calculate the return of investment, the internal rate of return, and the present world values at multiple discount rates. Petroleum Economics also provides a visual understanding of the NPV and cash flow over selected periods of time, and it determines the break-even point of your asset. So for this case, the break-even point is going to be around 400 days. If you want to see the value in years, you can click in here and you will see that you will reach your break-even point in 1.09 years. With this powerful environment, you can observe the different revenues obtained from oil and for gas, and also the total net revenue. In the fourth plot, you can observe what is the oil and gas price forecast behavior through the time. In this case, we assume that it was going to be constant. So you can change, as I mentioned, the different values, and also you can analyze the KPIs. You can have dynamically change the KPIs and see the impact in the economic analysis. So in this case, we have the break-even point and the net present value. This scenario is highly profitable, with an NPV value for a discount rate of 10 for around $6,387,000. This economic analysis was performed using DCA production forecast. So let's see what happens if we use the production forecast from a physics-based model. In this case, the NPV changed from 6.39 million with the DCA to 4.83 million with the physics base. The DCA was overestimating the production forecast. Also, for the case of the ROI, it changed from 98% with the DCA to 74% with a physics-based model. Here we can see the importance of performing an economic analysis, the significance of performing it, and the importance of having an accurate production forecast that enables you to make the correct decisions in your assets. This was the case for the well Hines 1H. Now let's take a look to another scenario. In this case, I would like to show you how to create your own new scenario and how to upload an external production data file. So first, let's create the name of the scenario. In this case, it will be called Barbie 26P. Click on create, and your scenario will be displayed in the table of available scenarios. Here, you can click and upload your external file with the production data. You can choose your file that you want to upload. Here, you select if it is an oil well or a gas well. You have different data report type, different report time of production, different unit system available, and then you can indicate what is the file type that you're uploading. Let's say it is forecast. It is a file that contains production forecast. Then you can also indicate what is the load threshold that you want to consider for your production data. If the case is that you have a historical file, you will be able to perform a DCA forecast with Petroleum Economics for the amount of years that you desire and with the economic limit that you would like to indicate. In this case, this file is a production forecast file. We'll assume load threshold is 0 for both of the oil and gas, and we click on save. The effective date in the case of this well is in 2018, 1st of February. So we have ownership, same values, futures. Let's randomize it a little bit so you can have an idea of how does it look. As you can see, this scenario is highly profitable. We have high values of ROI and IRR, and they are still high even if we change the OPEX value. It is still a good option to go with this project for the different discount rates. We can see that the present world values are positive for all the different discount rates, not only for the 10% assumed for this economic analysis. So the effective date that we chose for this scenario was in 2018. Now, what happens if we change the effective date to 1 year later? So let's assume it is 2019, February the 1st. Now, the scenario is not profitable anymore. As you can see, the different present worth values are negative for the different discount rates. So we change the effective date to 1 year later. So what happens if you buy this well 1 year later after it starts production? For a capex of 6.5 million, this is not profitable. You cannot pay 6.5 million for this well. Let's see what is the approximate value that you can pay for it. In this case, we see some revenue for a capex around 5.1 million. However, you should also take a look at the net present value and to the ROI and IRR values. In this case, the IRR is 14.36%, which is significantly close to the discount rate they're assuming. The scenario can be too risky. Also, it depends on what is the hurdle rate of your company. So economics gives you all the tools to make the proper decision. As you can see, Petroleum Economics is user-friendly, interactive, and highly intuitive. It is a valuable tool that allows a visual understanding of the production along with the financial metrics, enable accurate asset valuation and divestment, and acquisition analysis. Petroleum Economics definitely transforms production forecast curves into realistic financial metrics. Thank you for watching the Petroleum Economics demonstration. Now let's move to our Q&A session.